Tom and I were excited. We were heading to Pine Ridge. We were picked in a lottery drawing to be able to deer hunt for one day. Primitive weapons only. This meant we had our crossbows. It was a primo place. Sunrise was at 6 a.m., so we needed to be in place by 5. It would take us a half hour to hike to our stands. It was currently 3 a.m. We packed our best gear, all scent-free. We stopped at Waffle Place to get a cup of coffee along the way. Waffle Place, a lone little restaurant, or dive, with a long counter, a few booths, and a lot of windows. They weren't very busy at this time, but they seemed to have a lot of coffee brewing. It must be a popular spot to get your last cup before heading off into the woods. We walked in, excited and smiling from ear to ear with the prospects for our day. We checked out Pine Ridge last week, walked the area that we were allotted to hunt, and found a couple of great spots. Nice sight lines, a lot of deer trails, and minimal brush to get in the way. One of us was going to bag that big buck, the one we saw during our reconnoiter. Inside the restaurant, there were 2 other men getting coffee, obviously hunters, and an old man hunched over at a booth in the corner. As we walked to the counter, the man at the booth said, "I used to do that, but no more." I paused for a moment. Was he talking to us, or just mumbling? Tom was at the counter getting both coffees. As I took another step, the man said it again, but a little louder. I turned and asked him what he said. There was a pause, but then he said, "Pine Ridge. Beware of Pine Ridge. I used to hunt there, but no more." Tom had his coffee and told me to hurry up. We were running out of time to get there, to get set up. He was right. This stop was definitely cutting into our time. I looked at the man again and asked, "Beware? What?" The man continued, "Beware of Pine Ridge. Remember that they can smell everything." I chuckled a little. Yeah, I know. I grabbed the cup that Tom had for me and started walking to the door. The man looked up at me. He wasn't old, only a few years older than me, but his face was scarred and disfigured. It looked like someone beat him with a pitchfork or maybe threw him into a combine. As he stared at me, he said, "This was Pine Ridge," then put his head down again and said nothing else. Tom and I got back into the truck. We were a little quieter now. Then Tom broke the silence. "That was weird." "Yeah, right, wasn't it?" I replied. We got to the wildlife management area, known as Pine Ridge. We took off our outer garments and put on our scent-free hunting gear, grabbed our crossbows, checked the walkies, drank the last of our coffee, and headed off into the woods. It was real dark this morning, but we knew where we were going. It was 4:28 a.m. We were actually on schedule. Even after the coffee stop, Tom was one hill over from me to the right. I climbed up into the tree stand, cocked the crossbow, and waited. I am always mesmerized by the way the forest wakes up in the morning. The sounds of chipmunks running through the brush, the squirrels barking in the trees, the sounds of woodpeckers looking for food. Occasionally you can hear a turkey call or a distant bark of a fox. I saw movement somewhere to the right. My heart started beating faster. I slowly turned my head to get a better look, moving along the ground, through the low-hanging mist. It was a possum with its gray fur and walking in the low mist. It was perfect camouflage for them. I made up a name for them during that time of the day. I called them Gray Ghost because at times they seemed to disappear in the mist then reappear. I cataloged the sounds of the forest. Everything was happening as expected and right on time. A symphony of sights and sounds. Then, at 7:45 a.m., there was a sound of a rustling bush behind me. I waited, held my breath, then I saw him to the left. A large buck, nice rack. This was the one that Tom and I saw just last week. I raised the crossbow and let out a slow, steady breath. The deer froze, lifted its nose in the air and sniffed, turned its head and looked straight at me. Odd, very odd. How did he know where I was? It didn't matter. I squeezed the trigger and let the bolt fly. The buck ran about 20 feet and fell over. This was a good clean shot. I waited, making sure he was down. I didn't want to be gored by those antlers. 2 clicks on the walkie to let Tom know that I got one. 1 click back was his acknowledgement. I slowly got out of the tree and made my way to the buck. A lot of meat. Definitely going to get this head mounted. I wanted to drag this mule deer back to the tree stand to field dress it out. The area under the stand was flatter and clearer. And, well, anyway, we wouldn't be coming back here anytime this year. I grabbed the antlers. This was a heavy deer, over 200 pounds, and I let out a breath as I pulled the deer. Then silence. Complete silence. Suddenly everything went quiet after I grabbed the deer. No bird sounds, no squirrels calling, no chipmunks running. It was like I suddenly went deaf. I took a step, and I could still hear the leaves crunch beneath my feet. This was very eerie. I got back to the stand with the deer. The forest was still eerily quiet. Then I saw movement in front of me, about 20 yards away. I looked up. It was another big buck with a large rack, standing there, staring at me. Our limit was 1 deer, so there was no reason to set up my crossbow, but I did put my hand on my sidearm. This was so weird. I looked around. There were 2 more bucks. One to the left, and another was slightly behind me. I let out a long, steady breath to calm my nerves. All the deer put their noses in the air, sniffed, and walked 2 steps forward, toward me. There it was. Again, that weird action, sniffing the air, with their nose held up high. The forest silence was broken by the walkie. Tom was yelling through it. They are after me. Next, I heard gunshots from Tom's sidearm, and then some screaming. The deer around me didn't move at all. They didn't even seem to notice the sound from the walkie, the gunshots or the scream. I held my breath, heart pounding hard. This was so surreal. Then I remember the man at the waffle place. What did he say? They can smell everything. So, I continued to hold my breath and slowly climbed up my tree stand again. My body labored for air. Finally, I had to breathe. Now all 3 deer charged forward. I was only partway up the tree when I felt something stab my ankle. A large buck was on his hind legs and gored my ankle with his antlers. I made it to the tree stand and pulled out my first aid kit to wrap the wound. I was breathing heavy now. The deer were ripping the bark off the tree below me with their antlers. Realization. I finally understood. That stop on the way in. That coffee. These deer know the smell of that coffee. The smell on a hunter's breath is how they tracked and attacked hunters. I spent the next hour rinsing out my mouth with water and chewing on some gum. The deer wandered off. I didn't see anything around me now. The sounds of the forest were back. The buck at the base of my tree was gone. Not sure what happened to it, but it must have disappeared sometime when I was wrapping my leg and searching for gum in my pack. I climbed out of the tree and saw the blood trail of the deer going to the left, but Tom was somewhere to the right. I turned right to find Tom. He was halfway between our tree stands and was lying motionless on the ground. When I got to him, he was bloodied, but awake. I helped him back to the truck. Both had our sidearms at the ready. Tom whispers that 2 bucks attacked him. I know. Yeah, I know, was my reply. Tom spent a day at the hospital. He looked like he was beaten with a pitchfork or maybe thrown into a combine. He looked a lot like that guy we saw at the waffle place. We still go out every season, a little more cautious, always with better sidearms, and we never drink coffee again before the hunt. We tell everyone that will listen. Pine Ridge. Beware of Pine Ridge. We used to hunt there, but no more.